everyone, it's Monday. I'm Maya. You're watching HTO, How Things Operate, sponsored by Greenlight Energy. Okay, so let's talk about the three moving parts of education reform: signature schools, the phasing out of middle schools, and the parish primary schools. How will the signature schools operate? So what we do know right now is that there are two signature schools, but there are talks about there being a third signature school. However, there isn't really any information on who, what, or where it'll be. So all we're going to focus on is CedarBridge Academy and the Berkeley Institute, which are set to have their first students enroll into the signature school program in September of 2022. So when it comes to the signature schools that will be offered at both schools, CedarBridge Academy will offer building construction and maintenance, trades, and professions along with science, technology, engineering, and math, otherwise known as STEM, while the Berkeley Institute will offer health and social care along with financial and insurance services. The signature programs will make up to 30% of the curriculum for the students. So the other 70% will be your regular core subjects like the Englishes, the math, the science, and the social studies. And according to an interview done by Trevor Lindsay of TNN with Diallo Rabain on Channel 82, it is important to note that in these signature schools, you will still be graduating with your high school diploma. And what the minister also mentioned within his interview with Trevor was that with the graduation and completion of the signature schools, you could also be getting like an accreditation through the City and Guild or certificate through the City and Guild. And also you probably will be taking, depending if you're taking the program of reinsurance, some courses as well at Bermuda Reinsurance Institution. However, truthfully, we still don't know what each and every signature school or signature program will be offering in terms of accreditation once completion. And moreover, like the majority of people who answer questions from my Instagram, there are still way more questions than there are answers. Like personally for me, I want to confirm how long will a class period be now if 30% of my curriculum has to be these signature schools? And also, will there be mandatory gym classes and mandatory health classes like before? And will there finally be sex education? Because this island truthfully needs it. Also, I'd actually want to know whether or not any of these signature schools account for college credit. Honestly, I'd really just love to get a look at any of the S1 students of September 2022 schedule. Now let's talk about middle schools. How will the phasing of middle schools be completed? That'll be slowly, like completely slowly. The minister says that they don't want to rush anything like they did when they actually implemented middle schools. Some parents that might be watching this may remember how traumatic their experience must have been when middle schools came into and then trade schools went out and the whole 9 yards. It was just a lot and a lot was going on. Constantly in education, nothing has ever been consistent, so these changes always seem to appear. But the point of all these new or rollouts is so that, unlike before, this one actually will work. That's the hope and the goal. But the point being that middle school phasing outs, even though they've been in talk since 2017, you probably won't hear about it actually being in the works till about 2023-24. Again, they're just moving everything very slow, and not all three of these are going to happen at the same time. All right, let's talk about the parish primary schools. So what you need to understand about the parish primary schools is actually the reason as to why government even, put it up as an option. So here are some of the reasons, and you may remember them from an interview I did when I did Streeters last year. So reason number one being that Bermuda is facing a huge decrease in population. Reason two, schools are old and they need repairs. Reason number three, government is actually hoping that with parish primary schools, there'll be a bigger community influence, meaning that if you have a school within your parish, you'll be more hands-on and more helpful within that community. Reason four, there are barely enough resources for all the schools on the island right now. Like, it is not dispersed fairly or equally at all. So the hope is that, less schools, more resources. Or in this case, at least the standard minimum of resources per school. The focus on how parish primary schools will operate is still fairly unclear. Well, mainly because the phasing won't really happen until next year, 2023-24, all the way up to about 2027, according to MOED.BN. And according to the parish primary school decisions of 2021, the ministry says that they will have more information about what's going on well in advance. But 2023 is next year, and there are students who are still in schools that will be closed and teachers who don't really know where they'll be transitioning to. And everyone needs that time period to actually transition. So you may be thinking, okay, so what constitutes well in advance? Is it a year before, 6 months, 1 month, a week? Or is it when we implement all these new things and the government decides what's working and what's not for us to get any more information? The entire process is a trial phase. There are so many people working behind this who are part of socioeconomic groups, ministries, social groups, community groups, who have been working together to try to find something that can actually work for now and in the future. They've been trying to put together the Learning First program and, getting things implemented within the system. And we'll finally see something actually rolling out for the first time in September 2022. Honestly, if you still want to be a part of the conversations and working toward what can be done, or even try to get answers yourself, you could be a part of the group that's been helping to try to implement all these things into place. The Minister of Education has already stated that they're more than welcome to take more voices. So that's just something that you got to go through them if you want to and if you're willing. You really won't be hearing too much about the phasing out of middle schools or the parish primary schools this year, because that'll be something in the later times. But what we're really focusing on right now is the signature schools, which will be implemented in September of 2022.